Hey guys, it's Tomek from storagefreak.net. In this video I want to show you how simple it is to create Windows VM in Google Cloud. It's updated version, the video is recorded in April 2023. So first we're going to navigate to console.cloud.google.com, which is on Google Cloud Console, and there are three options to create a VM. We can either click the button we see on the top. We can search for VM instances from the search bar, or from the hamburger menu, we can also select Compute Engine, VM Instances. This time let's navigate through hamburger menu, but it doesn't matter, choose the way you prefer. Once we are on the welcome page for VM instances, we can navigate to Create Instance. I will call my virtual machine Windows VM. Let's leave region and zone in the default settings, the size of the machine as well. There is a boot disk section, and pay attention to the image. Right now it's Debian image, we want to change it. So under change, we can select operating system to Windows Server, which is on the bottom, and then specific version. Now, whichever you choose, remember if you choose the core version, it's without the graphical interface. So let's go with Windows 2022 Data Center Server version. As you can see on the right side, we see the total cost per hour or monthly. It's a pay-as-you-go license fee, so everything we want. Let's just click Create for provision our virtual machine. Verify Google Cloud pricing for more details, but you are only billed for the time the machine is being used, so if you use it only for a couple of hours, it's very inexpensive. Alright, so our external and internal IP address is already visible on the screen. The status of the machine is ready. It's a good practice to give it another minute or so before we try to connect to it, since the boot up process might be still in progress. But before we connect, we actually need a username and password, right, to be able to connect to the VM. So let's do it right now. To create a new user, you actually have to go for the option set Windows password, because with that option you can first specify the username. It doesn't have to be the default one, so let's try to change it, and then specify the password. Or to be more precise, the password will be generated for us. Of course, we can change it to the one we preferred later on, but for now let's copy the password and we are ready to connect. We can either use RDP button, but for that we need a third-party client to be able to connect, or we can use built-in Windows client with MSTSC, which is quite complicated to remember, or just search for remote desktop connection. So let's do it this way. Typing remote, and as you can see, that's the first result already. To make a connection, we have to specify computer name in form of external IP address. So let me do it right now. And once click connect, it will ask for either username and password. In this case, since I created username called my user, let's go with my user and the password I have. If you see your own username over here, there's a button, there should be a button, there will be a button to specify I want to use different user, and just use the user you just created. And as you can see, just like that, we are connecting to our VM. If you've got any issue, for example, some connection error, just give it another minute once the VM is spinned. It sometimes needs another minute or two just to boot up fully and be able to accept external connections. But as you can see on my screen, it was fairly quickly. I think we are in around 4 minutes of this video and we are already in. So that's about it. As you can see, I'm already connected. I've got some pop-up screens, so let me close all of that. And this is our brand new external Windows VM. We are the administrators, so we can do whatever we want. For example, change the password if we didn't like the auto-generated one, add the new user, etc. In my case, I will just disconnect from the machine. And there's a quick tip. If you click shutdown button, you would actually stop the virtual machine. And sometimes it makes sense to keep it up and running even if you disconnect from it, right? Especially if something is going on in the background. In my case, I will delete the instance since I will not need it anymore. It's a very good practice to not leave any leftovers, so something you don't need anymore due to the billing reasons, right? I think that's pretty obvious. This seems like a good place to finish today's video. Thanks for watching. I hope you had fun. If you've got any questions or come across with any issues, just ask them in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them, or perhaps someone from our community can help you out. Check out my channel for other videos related to Google Cloud, Kubernetes, and technology in general. Alright, thanks and see you in the next video.